This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Welcome to another Sunday edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel. Of course, today we'll be borrowing a topic from a comments section. Of course, it's not too unheard of to do that, but obviously today we're borrowing it from Patrick's comments section over at the Oilers Fanatic on his 12th forward video looking at Raphael Lavoie, the Montreal Canadiens, and the good old waiver wire. That's what we'll be discussing here in a matter of moments, friends. I'm Tyson. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you as we get set up for what is going to be a very busy month in Edmonton Oilers land. And at that rate, I would ask you right now, if you are new to the channel, to consider hitting subscribe to, well, stay up to date with all things Edmonton Oilers and stuff like this throughout the regular season. Of course, Raphael Lavoie has been a hot topic of discussion all summer long, simply because we know that he either has to make the team out of camp or face the waiver wire before rejoining the Bakersfield Condors. Now, as the cap world is tight and teams are looking for advantages in players that might be a little bit more off the beaten path, Raphael Lavoie becomes pretty attractive in that situation. And for folks of the channel who know, well, you know what, there's kind of things that happen within teams, kind of how they scout players and stuff like that. Raphael Lavoie makes a lot of sense for the Montreal Canadiens because he is from Quebec. He's played his major junior hockey throughout the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and he's a guy, too, that I think the Montreal Canadiens would definitely love to have in the lineup. 6'4", 2-something, right? Oh man, it makes so much sense to add a player like that if the Oilers don't find a spot for him. Now, there's a lot to this discussion because yes, while it all kind of lines up nicely, that I think it's the story that the Montreal Canadiens have portrayed across generations of hockey fans, the hometown kid coming in and doing great things. Well, at the same rate too, that is kind of jumping the gun a little bit because he still has to get into rookie camp, he still has to get into training camp, he still has to get into the preseason games, and he will Raphael Lavoie make the Edmonton Oilers. That's kind of the tough part here, but as Patrick noted, it's not necessarily as the 12th forward. It would be more so as kind of a standard everyday player, and you're bumping somebody out of a role, whether that be Matthias Janmark, whether that be Derek Ryan. Those are the kind of guys that you'd have to bump out to take a role on the Edmonton Oilers as Raphael Lavoie. So when it comes to the waiver wire, the only reason that is a conversation is it is an uphill battle for Lavoie, but at the same rate too, when you talk about the waiver wire and a guy from Quebec that's got a promising career ahead of him, yeah, the Montreal Canadiens are always going to come up. As I said, that hometown kid story that they so often portray. So at current, I don't think there's much of a risk, but it's just one of those things everybody's discussing. And while I also see it as likely because of the story I'm portraying to you, it is kind of also one of those things where there's a lot of teams on that waiver wire, and I mean, given the day, Montreal might not be able to make it happen. They do currently have $5.8 million in cap space, but again, assuming that Raphael Lavoie goes on waivers the last day of training camp, as is tradition across the NHL, the big dumps go in about 3-day span. There's a pretty good dump, biggest dump, secondary good dump on, day 1, 2, 3 of the waiver wire right before the season starts. So we'll see if that's the way it happens for the Oilers this year. Again, remains to be seen at this point, but I think at this point, yes, it's an uphill battle for Raphael Lavoie, but I think it's almost a guaranteed given that he makes the Edmonton Oilers out of training camp. Now, there's a lot to happen there, and obviously we'll see what ends up going on in these rookie camp games and training camp games, but I look forward to it, right? This could be a scary time. This could be a huge loss for the Edmonton Oilers prospect system, but right now there's nothing but optimism for Raphael Lavoie and his role with the Edmonton Oilers. So when it comes to, you know what, thinking about the waiver wire, thinking about potentially the Montreal Canadiens claiming Raphael Lavoie, I would just say, at this point, don't worry about it. We have plenty of time, plenty of runway. We still got over a month at least of Raphael Lavoie in an Edmonton Oilers uniform. Friends, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Really appreciate you being along for the ride. I'm a little stuffed up this afternoon if you kind of hear me choking up on my words. kind of stumbling on my words, whatever you want to say. Anyway, let's ask this. If you are a returning subscriber and you haven't already hit the bell next to the subscribe button to get notifications when I post, I would be grateful for you doing that, because, well, it allows you to get the videos that much quicker. And trust me, when those live streams hit again here in the preseason, you'll want to be the first to know, as if you're around for the playoffs. It was a great dang time. I'm Tyson Dolynny TV, up on, out of here.